I'd like to welcome everyone to IRONSIDE Lunch and Learn. This week's parasha is Parashat Vayetze. It says over there in the beginning of the parasha, Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Harana. He left Beersheva and he's on his way to Harana. Why is he leaving his dwelling? He's running away from his brother. Remember last parasha? He got the blessings. Esav was very upset with it. He promised to kill him. His mom told him, it's time for you to go. And he headed out. And now, he's on his way to Haran. Actually on the way to find his zivug. One of the biggest questions that the sages ask is, Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Harana. Why would they need to tell us that he's leaving? Again, the Torah is very concise with the words that it uses, letters, even nekudot. Why would it say, Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Harana? You could also say, Vayakov yelech Harana. Why do you have to mention that he actually left that city? So the rabbis tell us, Rashi first of all says, because the ladies of the land were Ra'ot benot Canaan, the girls that were, or the ladies that were living in the Eretz Canaan were bad and they were not proper in the eyes of his father, so he went somewhere else. Rashi continues to say, Vayetze, it's not necessary to write it. You could have just said, Vayelech Yaakov, or Vayelech Yaakov Harana. You could have saved the words. So Rashi is saying over here, Shetziat Tzadik min hamakom oseh roshem. This is a very, very big concept. He says when a tzaddik leaves a town, he leaves an impression. You know, if you ever sat down with a big rabbi, if you ever sat down or even gone to a class and heard some divrei Torah from a big rabbi, you know, before he gets there, the room is just, everybody's just waiting for him to walk in. When he walks in, you feel the energy of the room, you feel the excitement. When he speaks, you hear the divrei Torah, like, I never heard these concepts before, I never heard these divrei Torah like this before. And when he leaves, there's a void. You feel the room like it's empty. I know many, many times when I've gone to go hear rabbis, I'm so blown away by the Torah that they just gave over. And when they leave, you just feel like a big rabbi was just here. So a rabbi on a very high level was just here with us. And now that he's gone, the lack of his presence is felt. Similarly, a rabbi who leaves town. Let's just say we have a very big rabbi that lives with us here in Miami, and all of a sudden became a head rabbi in a different country, in a different state. There's going to be a void. We don't have that same rabbi around with us. The best example of something like this is just a few years ago, when Rav Ovadia Yosef didn't just leave his community, he left this world. When Rabbi Ovadia Yosef left this world, it was one of the biggest funerals in history in Israel. Close to 1 million people on that day hit the streets. Obviously, they're not all going to make it to that cemetery. Obviously, not going to make it all to that place, but they all came in his honor. Until today, we still feel the void of the Rav Ovadia Yosef. Who has taken his place? Who can take his place? So when the Torah says, Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Harana, Vayetze, to let you know, every time you're in the presence of a tzaddik, when he's gone, when he's no longer there, it's felt. It's felt in its close surroundings, it's felt in the city, it's also felt because the tzaddik brings a bracha with him. Many, many times, the tzaddik, when he's in the town, all of a sudden, sometimes there's a rabbi in the shul, and everybody's like rolling, everybody's making great business. All of a sudden, everybody in that community is making a great headway in their businesses. As soon as the rabbi leaves, they see, you know what? Things change. Why? The bracha, the rabbi brought the bracha with him. Vayetze Yaakov. This is the tzaddik when he leaves the town. However, when a tzaddik leaves, or when Gadol Hador passes away, what happens? There's certain people that get affected by it negatively. There's certain people that allow themselves to get a little bit loose around the edges. For example, the first example that we had of that last week, Avraham Avinu passes away. What did Esav do? He went for a free-for-all. He murdered, he raped, he did some major sins on that day. He says, well, listen, Gedol Ador is no longer here. We have another example of that with Shlomo. Shlomo is a big tzaddik. He was like the full moon of of the Jewish nation. He was the biggest one that had the smarts, the knowledge, the riches. However, when his spiritual mentor passed away, I believe his name was Achitophel. What happened on that? What happened shortly after? He married the Queen of Sheba from Egypt. He would have never done that in the lifetime of his spiritual mentor, of his rabbi. But as soon as the rabbi passed away, he felt like, you know what? It's okay. When a Gedol Ador leaves us, when a rabbi leaves us, Vayetze Yaakov, when a spiritual leader leaves us, it's felt. And when it's felt, you feel it all around. And everybody has a Yaakov in their life. When that Yaakov leaves him, it's felt. One should also have a Yaakov in his life. Should also have a spiritual leader, a rabbi, somebody that you can connect with, somebody that fills up your city, that fills up your town, that fills up your life, that fills up your mind with Torah. And if you have that, God forbid, when he lives to 120 and he goes on to the next world, you're going to feel that void. Vayetze Yaakov, it's a very strong concept. Rashi went ahead to explain it so we can understand that there's no extra words over here. We must know that there's a Yaakov in every generation, and when they leave, it's felt. That's the power of the rabbis, that's the power of our spiritual leaders, and that's the power of the Torah that's inside of them. Very interesting. Where did he go? The Midrash says, or Rashi tells us here also, that he went to Shem and Ever's yeshiva. He went there for 14 years. He studied for 14 years. He didn't sleep not one night. He was up for 14 years. Could you imagine that? And for 14 years, he's studying Torah. Finally, when he's heading out now to Lavan's house in order to meet his zivug, it says, "Vayifga b'makom." I'll read you the pasuk because it's a very interesting pasuk because it uses one word 3 times. Anytime that happens, you have to ask a question. It says, "Vayifga b'makom, vayalem sham kiva shemesh, vayikach me'avnei hamakom, v'yaseh mirashitav, vayishkav b'makom hahu." So obviously you can hear that there's the word makom, the place, several times over here. So as he's on his way to the house of Lavan, he reaches a certain place. The rabbis tell us that he actually passed it, but then Hashem lowered the sun quickly in order for him to go to sleep, because keep in mind, there was no traveling at night during those days. During those days, traveling at night was dangerous, not because of just of people, but of wild animals, of demons. This is the time where all those things were very, very prevalent at night. So as soon as it got dark, it meant that you don't move forward. The next day, you keep traveling. At that particular moment, he finds himself where? Bamakom. What is this place called Bamakom? So the Bamakom is Bet HaMikdash. The actual physical place of Bet HaMikdash, this is the Makom that they're talking about over here. And as he's hitting this spot, he takes 12 stones, he puts it around his head, he goes to sleep. We'll come back to that in a second. Now, when it says Vayifga b'makom, Avnei hamakom, Vayishkav b'makom, this is the spot of Bet HaMikdash. Now, besides us knowing it as a place of where physically Bet HaMikdash has been built forever and will also be built in the future, it's actually built, will be with us in the future. It's a special spot. That's also the spot of Akedat Yitzchak. That's also the spot of the beginning spot of creation. In other words, if you ever wanted to know where the belly button of planet Earth is, it's Bet HaMikdash. It's like the first spot that Hashem touched in order to create the world. It's a very unique place. A few parashiot ago, we saw Abraham say, "Vayaret hamakom merachok." If you remember, we're talking about Abraham traveling towards the site of the Akedah, and as he's traveling, the pasuk says over there, "Vayaret hamakom merachok," and he saw the place from afar. But we explained it, if you remember, that we said that the makom actually pertains to God, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and at that moment, Vayaret HaMakom, Vayaret HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Merachok, he couldn't understand, what am I doing here? I'm on the way to putting my son on an altar. He didn't understand it. Why do we call God HaMakom, the place? Very easily. Even if you were ever been in a kindergarten, they all say that Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere, right? Up, down. You know that song, right? What does that mean? Hashem is everywhere. So if Hashem is everywhere, He is the Makom. Hashem is not in a place. In a place meaning there's a place and Hashem is in it. Hashem is not in a place. We are in Hashem. We are inside Hamakom. This entire existence all around us is God. Everything here is God. The tree is God. This desk is God. I am God. You are God. I'm sorry, not I am God. The neshama that's inside of me is a small piece of God. It's more correct. Everything in this world is God. Everywhere you go, God is there. Hashem hu hamakom. Now, Yaakov sleeps in dreams, and we have that dream over there of the dreams with the ladders and the angels going up and down, and Hashem reveals Himself to Yaakov, and He tells him, I am the God of your fathers, and He promises him the land, He promises him offspring, He promises Eretz Yisrael, protection, wealth, success. And He promises also the completion of these promises. He promises him the manifestation of these promises. Hashem actually tells Yaakov that He's going to keep His word. And that's what's happening in this spot. Now, when Yaakov awakens, he says something very interesting. It says, Vayikatz Yaakov mishnato, Vayomer. He woke up from his sleep and he says, Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo adati. Is it true that there's God in this place and I did not know? Like, how could I not have known that this is the place, the future place of Bet HaMikdash? How can I not know that this is the God's house? And then he says something very, very interesting. Vayira vayomar ma nora makom hazeh. How awesome is this place? En ze ki im bet Elohim v'zeh shar shamayim. Then he makes a proclamation. This is the house of God, and this is the gateway of the heavens. So he says, this is the house of God, this is the dwelling of God, and this is the gateway to the heavens. This is what I like to zone in a little bit on this little concept right here. This is going to be very, very interesting. It says, Shar Shamayim, you know, when we go to Bet Elohim, what's Bet Elohim? The house of God. Nowadays, what is it? It's a Bet Knesset. Today, the shul is the Bet Elohim, right? But the original, the one, the top of the line is Bet HaMikdash. So, did you ever wonder where our prayers go? If you ever wondered, if you're praying, that prayer, how does it travel? How does it work? Well, it's very connected to this week's parasha. Take a look at this. Anyone who has a proper siddur will see that right before they start to pray Amidah, there's almost like a little line, an instruction. It tells you what you need to do right before you start to pray. Right before you start to pray, there's a certain intention that you're supposed to have. There's a certain kavanah you're supposed to have before you send your prayer. And the intention is that right now you're standing and God is in front of you, and the prayer is now going from wherever you are in the world straight to Yerushalayim, to Eretz Israel, from Eretz Israel to Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim Bet HaMikdash, Bet HaMikdash Kodesh HaKodashim, Kodesh HaKodashim to Ben HaKeruvim, in between the cherubs, behind the Parochet, and right over there, it goes straight up. Why? Because that is the spot where the gates of heavens are. In other words, all our tefillot from all over the world travel to one place. They all go to this little pipe that Yaakov Avinu was talking about. This little pipe where all the tefillot go up. And that's the kavanah you're supposed to have daily. In other words, if you're sending a letter, you got to put an address. If you're sending your prayer, that's the address, and you're supposed to go through that with your kavanah. You have to imagine for just a split second, like as if you're traveling. Again, Miami, Israel, Jerusalem, Bet HaMikdash, Kodesh HaKodashim, until you get to that little spot and say, that's where my prayers are going. Ironically, if this is the gates of heaven, you should know that the blessings that come down to this world come from the same place. The same place where we send our prayers is the same spot in the world where the blessings come from. So imagine, all the way from the heavens, there's a huge pipe that comes down all the way up until the top of Bet HaMikdash, and from there it spreads out all over the world. And from the same places where our prayers go up. There's a pasuk that says, Yevarechecha Hashem mitzion. In other words, Hashem will bless you from Zion. Where is Zion? Jerusalem. I said it's over there in Yerushalayim. You're going to see that all the blessings and all the goodness come out of Yerushalayim. Now, most people don't know that, but the blessings for the entire world come from Yerushalayim, even for the Goyim. The better they treat the Jews, the more successful they are. It's like some people already know that. You can see that around us, that so all of a sudden Christians are having a favorable view of us in certain places on this planet. Certain places in America, certain places in Europe, certain places in South America, where they know that if they're good to the Jews, their lives will be blessed. Whoever blesses you is blessed, and whoever curses you is cursed. They already tapped into that concept. But during the time of Bet HaMikdash, they knew if the Jew is good, the rest of the world is good, because everything comes through the Yehudim. However, it gets a little bit deeper than that. We know the spot now. We know that the spot where all our prayers go and where all the blessings come from is right there in Bet HaMikdash. In Kodesh HaKodashim, right there. So now, even though that Bet HaMikdash right now is not fully built out, geographically we know where it is. Okay? But this pipe, this tzinor that they're talking about, it's a very special pipe. This pipe is actually a pipe that is connected to 22 other pipes. In other words, it's one large pipe that consists of 22 other pipes that are built within it. We get a hint to that in the Kiddush of Yom Shishi. There's always a preparation that we say, it's a Leshem Yechud, that we say right before each Kiddush. And if you ever pay attention to the Leshem Yechud of Kiddush of Friday night, I'll read it to you so you can see what it says. We say to Hashem, we ask that Sheyata, the right hand, should be in Et Ratzon, an auspicious time, לפניך. וימשך לנו ולנפשותנו ולבנינו ובנותינו וכל ישראל שפע, שלום, טובה, ברכה, חיים, חן וחסד וחמים. We ask for Hashem for all the best, for ourselves, for our children, for all the people that are here, Am Yisrael. We want an abundance of peace, abundance of goodness, blessings, life, mercy, benevolence, all the good things that Hashem can give us. And how do we want all these blessings to come down? It says, Al Yedeh Chafbet Tzinorot Elyonim, through the 22 heavenly pipes, Hashem Tuchim Rukim Shefa, which are constantly open, are constantly giving an abundance of Uvracha, Mivracha Elyonan Rosh Kol Ketayim, from the main source of all the blessings. Interestingly enough, these 22 pipes, we know what they are. They're actually the Aleph Bet. The Aleph Bet, we have 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And basically, when the tefillot, when your prayers go all the way to that special spot in Yerushalayim, as soon as that your tefillah hits that area, it splits up into letters. The Aleph goes in the Aleph pipe, the Bet goes in the Bet pipe, the Gimel goes in the Gimel pipe. Each letter goes in its right place. We still have not even begun to speak or even understand the power of the Hebrew language, the power of the Hebrew alphabet. The whole world got created by Asara Ma'amarot. If you could imagine, just 10 utterances created this whole world that we're in. And those 10 utterances were in Hebrew. And they were used with the Jewish alphabet, with the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph Bet. So, if I'm telling you that the source of all the blessings and the acceptance of all the tefillot are through these unique pipes, and these unique pipes are Aleph Bet pipes. You could just imagine the power of our language and the power of our letters. Now, the tefillot, that's why it's very important to enunciate and to pronounce tefillot properly. Because imagine you're sending a tefillah over there and it's missing an aleph, it's missing a gimel, it's missing a dalet, and all of a sudden the mashma'ut, the meaning of the word, completely changes. That's why the rabbis tell us when it comes to tefillah, it's better that you do a little bit with intention and properly, than rather to do a lot and just swallow up words. You know, there's some people just like zoom through the prayer. What do you get out of it? So you become a speed reader? What spirituality do you get out of speed reading? However, if you could take one page and really concentrate and connect to the words, connect to the feeling of the verse, that has more value. The kavanah, the meaning, the feeling. Rachmana libabaye. The Gemara tells us that the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants the heart. Doesn't want the mind. Doesn't want you to say, I read 100 pages in 15 minutes. That stimulated the mind. Hashem wants, give me that one page with kavanah. Rachmana libabai. He wants the heart. So you can see over here that the Yaakov Avinu, the spot that he was on was a heavenly spot. Not only was it a heavenly spot for the future place of Bet HaMikdash and the place of Akedat Yitzchak and all the different places prior to that, but you can see that it's the gateway to the heaven. Which is a little bit further on into the parasha. I'm sorry, just to continue a little bit more about this particular subject. In the morning prayers in Shachrit, we talk about this place again. Again, about this specific spot. And it says over here, it says that Veviotim el har kodeshi, and I will bring them to my heavenly mountain. Vesimachtim bevet tefilati, and I will make him joyous in my house of worship or my house of prayer. Olotehem vezivchehem leratzon al mizbechi, and all their sacrifices and all their offerings will be desired upon my altar. Ki beti bet tefillah yikare lechol amim, because my house my house of prayer will be called a house of prayer for all of the nations. So could you imagine this spot right now that we're talking about? It says here in the Pasuk that Hashem says that it will be a place of worship for all the nations. Today, we can see how everybody's vying for that spot. Everybody wants a little foothold of this little small piece of real estate in the middle of the Middle East. How big is Yerushalayim? How big is Israel? How big is Yerushalayim? How big is this little spot? Yet everybody's there. Everybody's there. If it's the Muslims, the Christians, if it's the Jews, if some other denominations that want to say that they also have a hold on Yerushalayim because it's connected to their spiritual leader. Why is that? Why is it that Bet Tefillah Ikra L'Chol Ha'amim? Because anyone who recognizes God relates Jerusalem to God. Anyone who really has a connection to the Creator, they know that the Jewish story is the real story. So the ones that are really spiritual, even on the side of the Tum'ah, the closest that they can get to God is His dwelling place in Yerushalayim. So they want that because it's important for them. It's part of their spirituality. They want to own it. However, the real explanation for this pasuk is not about the times now where we see everybody fighting for it. That's not, it shouldn't be happening. It should be clear it belongs to the Jews. It should be clear, but it's not clear. Right? We're living in Olam HaSheker, in a place where everything's upside down, where people can actually claim something that is not true and the whole world believes it. People can delete parts of history and eventually as the generations go by they believe it. We can see that happening as people are trying to delete history. People are trying to get people to forget about the Holocaust. How in England right now they're taking it out of their learning, they're taking it out of their history books. Not to mention all the Middle East countries. They're trying to forget something that happened not more than 100 years ago. Not less than 100 years ago even. So, as all the religions are vying for Yerushalayim, the real meaning of this pasuk, it pertains to the time of Geulah, the time of Mashiach. At that time, all religions will really, really, really want to be there. You know why? Because their house of cards fell apart. Their whole belief that Yerushalayim belongs to them is going to be clearly untrue, and it will be crystal clear that it belongs to the Jews. But now that they have the truth, you can't deny the truth. Also, if you're not connected to the truth, you have to die. Right? This is the time of Mashiach. You can't go against God at the time of Mashiach. You can't even be around at the time of Mashiach if you don't believe in God. So what are they going to be doing? They're going to be vying to be part of the Jewish nation. So, in the time of Shlomo HaMelech, they didn't take converts. Why? Who doesn't want to be a Jew? At the time of Shlomo HaMelech, they had all the riches that we were on top of the world. You want to be part of that club. The whole idea of converts is when they come and they see the Jewish nation going through all these terrible situations in their history, in their day-to-day life for being Jews, and say, you know what, I want to be part of your nation. Not when we're on top of the world. That's not when we want the converts. During Shlomo HaMelech, we didn't take any converts. During the time of Mashiach, we won't be taking any converts either. But it says over there, Bet Tefillah Ikra L'Chol Ha'amim, all the nations of the world are going to come to that particular place and pray to be part of the Jewish nation. Ikra Makom Tefillah, they'll come and pray. L'Chol Ha'amim, they'll come, oh please accept us. Now we know. And that time will be too late. One last thing. In this week's parasha, it talks about rocks. It talks about Vayishkav b'makom hahu, Vayikach me'avnei hamakom, Vayasem berashotav. It says that, here's a guy that didn't sleep for 14 years. He's been studying Torah for 14 years. The first chance that he has to sleep, what does he do? He takes a rock. And he takes 12 rocks. And Rashi says over there that the rocks were fighting. No, put your head on me, put your head on me. Eventually, when he woke up, it became all one rock. Later on, he poured some oil on top of it, and that was the spot of Bet HaMikdash again. But it says over there, and that's why he had the famous dream sequence, but It's weird. First time that he's sleeping, he's choosing rocks, and not only that, he's protecting just his head. And they say that the reason why he protected his head, in case a wild animal comes, it won't get to him. But what about the rest of the body? What about protecting the body? If you're protecting yourself, protect the whole. Why just protect the head? So over here, Yaakov Avinu is sending us a message. Yaakov Avinu is sending us a message is how important it is to protect the Jewish mind. How important it is to protect it from external influences. How important it is to protect the Jewish mind from external ideas, concepts. He didn't worry about the body. The body will be fine. The most important thing for Yaakov Avinu is that nothing gets into the Torah head. He wanted to stay focused in his journey, in his spirituality. Yaakov Avinu in this week's parasha sends us a message. He says, forget the physicality, the spirituality, the neshama which lives in the head. Pay attention to it and protect it. That was one part that we saw. The second part of the parasha, it says, Vayigash Yaakov, Vayagel et ha'eved ma'al pi ha'be'er. There's a famous scene over there where there's a well filled with water and a huge rock, and everyone's waiting around, sitting around idly instead of working, wasting time, wasting their boss's money. Keep in mind, these are sheep herders. So you tell them, what are you guys doing here? He says, we're waiting for everyone to come together and we'll push the rock together. And once we push the rock, we'll be able to get to the water. What does Yaakov do? He moves the rock like it was a feather, like it was made out of cork. Rashi says it's a testimony to his strength. He was physically strong. But I read in Midrash, Yalkut, Lekach Tov. In Lekach Tov, it says over there something very interesting. He says, what's the water? We always know that when it talks about water, that's the Torah. He says, when it comes to the Torah, what's the thing? You have so many things blocking you from getting to the Torah. Like a rock. Ask anybody who's trying to get religious, see what they tell you. It's heavy. Why did they use the term heavy? Why don't they say it's difficult? Because they say it's like trying to push a heavy rock. It's hard for them to get religious. It's hard for them to get to the Torah that's on the bottom. Not only that, the people around, there's people that are idly waiting by the water. The Torah is right here, but tons of people around it just doing nothing, wasting their time, feeling that together, they're in a group, they're in agreement. We can't move this rock to get to the Torah. It's too heavy for all of us. Just goes to show that sometimes people talk each other out of their spirituality. And they sit around in groups where people are agreeing that spirituality is too hard for them. Comes a tzaddik that has just spent 14 years in a yeshiva. How does he push that heavy rock for everyone? Like nothing. Like nothing. Why? Because the one thing that you don't understand is that people that are in the Torah world, they're very strong people. They might not look it physically on the outside, but mentally, they're very, very strong. They can move mountains. Not only can they move mountains, but they can get to the deepest well of water. What's holding people back? What is the difference over here between Yaakov and the sheep herders? Is that Yaakov Avinu has that power, which is the power that we all have. The sheep herders were dealing with one thing: Yetzer Hara and laziness. Yetzer Hara, talking them out of it. The laziness, sitting around idly. They didn't even want to make an effort. When the other guy comes, then do it. When this guy comes, we'll do it. When that guy comes, we'll do it. And these are two things that we all wrestle with, or some people wrestle with very heavily, is being lazy and the Yetzer Hara giving them unmotivated or pushing them off. When you have those two things in your life, everything's going to seem like a rock. But when you have Torah in your life, you can move a boulder and it's going to feel like nothing. Bezat Hashem, that will have these characteristics of Yaakov Avinu, that we can tap into this holy place, Bet HaMikdash, that we should send our prayers over there, and we should get our brachot from over there. And Bezat Hashem, that we should feel that Avodat Hashem is easy and pleasant and enjoyable, and that we want to just stay up and learn it for 14 years, just like Yaakov Avinu, and at the same time be able to take care of all our problems as if they're a boulder that can be moved like a feather.
Amen.
Skuna mitzvot.